This is an area of recent clearfell on Clumber Park. About 100 yards or so just up this track. It's the home of one of our most ferocious and probably feared predators. It's an insect with 6 legs and wings, but this is a species which deserves respect, especially when I'm going to get as close as I am. Well, perhaps you've already seen it and realised what it is that I'm sat at the side of. Yes, I know it's a tree, but it's what's inside the tree, just on the outer face of this trunk here. It is a young and developing hornet's nest. I love hornets. I don't want to be stung by one, but as long as I stay this side of the tree and of the nest and don't disturb or disrupt the hornets as they fly in and out of the nest, I will be fine. However, I'm not going to stay here for much longer. Well, you can see how close this nest is to the path. I fear that this nest won't be going for too much longer. It only needs somebody to report it or a member of the National Trust staff to see it, and I think it will be gone. But otherwise, if people just walk past this nest, it won't be a problem. Hornets and wasp nests are only a problem when people stand in front of the nest and get in the flight line. That's when the guards guarding the entrance to the nest feel that there is a threat. And there's the nest, tucked nicely into this large open crevice as a worker leaves. And one worker is already adding on to around the nest entrance. But above the nest you can see almost a tube-like structure, and above that it almost looks like a mushroom, to be honest, but that's going to form part of the nest eventually. The cells, which are hexagonal and are fixed to one central sort of pillar hanging down from the upper part of the nest, covered by various layers. The outermost one at the moment you can see, but preparations are in place for further additions, and that's what that open tube is at the top of the nest. You'll see how that changes later in the video, but you can see the worker busy adding another layer of wood pulp to the nest. They are amazing constructions. The different layers and different colours of those layers are produced through workers visiting different fence posts, fences, trees, dead branches, chewing it into a pulp, bringing it back. So the different colours of those layers correspond to different places that the worker hornets have got that pulp from. You'll often see wasps chewing vertical lines down fences, and they're doing the same thing and do the same thing to their nests too. But you can see as this worker leaves the nest how open the bottom of the nest is at the moment, but big changes are afoot on that front. Quite remarkable things. And watching them construct the nest and just watching the day-to-day activities of the workers returning to the nest like those, it's quite magical. It's enthralling. You could sit and just watch things all day long. I think so anyway. It's the Hymenopteran equivalent of a fish tank. Very, very entertaining. You may not always like wasps and hornets, but you have to admire their creativity, and you can see that now this is the second visit on 22nd of July. Look at the changes to the nest entrance. It's completely filled in a much smaller entrance hole to the nest now, which the workers are coming out of, and in greater numbers too. There's a big difference in the number of workers between my visits of 14th of July and the 22nd of July. But here's a little worker I thought was going to come out, and then I thought, is it a guard? Guards usually stay close, if not just inside the entrance, but this one comes out as though it's going to fly. I tend to think now that this is a freshly emerged worker that's come outside for a look but doesn't feel confident enough to go out into the outside world. It even flicks its wings as though it's going to start and fly. But it's acting more like a guard, but I think this is a youngish worker. It inspects those other hornets coming into the nest and watches those leaving the nest. But it does give us a chance to actually look at these fantastic insects. Wasps have a loud enough buzz, but I always think that hornets make wasps sound effeminate. They have a much more meaner and lower buzz or tone to that buzz. And there you can see this one comes in to join. It doesn't go in the nest though and goes off again. But all the time what worker hornets are around the camera. That's why throughout this video you can hear buzzing, because there's always been one or two, sometimes as many as 8 or 9 around the camera. If you don't like buzzing, I'm sorry about that. It's rather an ineffective video without the sound. You can see workers returning to the nest, and now you can see the top right hand part of the nest, those tubes. There's an addition of another one, but they've been extended a little bit and then filled in. I think they will be used as vents, or when more layers have been added to the nest. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see, but I think we might get the whole thing covered over here and not get to see them. That's providing the nest remains, of course. Another worker goes. This nest is perfectly safe where it is, as long as the public don't see it and don't realise it's there. There's a tendency for people to be completely oblivious to hornet and wasp nests. They have no idea that they're there, but the minute they do realise that it's there, the exterminators are called in and the nest is destroyed. 9 times out of 10, completely unnecessary. And here comes a worker with a prey item. Marvellous how they dismember prey almost within a second, split second. The head's off, the legs off, the wings are off. The rest's chewed to a pulp before it knows what's even happened to it, and then brought back to the nest. There's something else being brought in. And lots of the time the workers will bring something in, and then those leaving the nest to go foraging will be removing waste from the larvae and generally tidying the nest. It's a fabulous system. It's a system that works where a colony of hundreds, if not thousands, of wasps or hornets work for the good of each other. There's no falling out, there's no argument, no disagreement. They all know what to do, they all have their jobs to do, and they all work to the best of their ability to do what task they've got. Here's another little glimpse from underneath the entrance. One hornet comes out and will probably venture off it goes. But you can see, you can just about make out the entrance, and that's how it was a week ago. Much more open, but now much more protected and closed up. They are marvellous things, wasps and hornets, and very privileged to be able to see as much of this nest as we can. They're usually tucked in the holes in trees, and I've never seen one exposed in this manner at all. thanks to Nick and Samantha Brownlee who found it.